the only real mention I can see about medicinal cannabis is that those that the Schedule 8 the acceptances, or for want of a better word, have been rolled into the general Schedule 8 measures. And given that we are, we are trying to expand our medicinal cannabis patient cohort in Victoria, and we're trying to produce our own medicinal cannabis here, is there any reason why we haven't got medicinal cannabis as one of the outcomes or measures in the budget?
Simply because I suppose the fact that the shape of the law and the world has changed so radically over the past 3 years, largely because of the change in appetite on this issue by the Commonwealth and the changing role of their approach. The other angle that I also know that you're interested in is, of course, the industry development angle as well. I'm not quite sure if there are any output measures there, but that is also one of the other important reasons why we as a state remain involved, despite the fact that the Commonwealth, at the time that our legislation was brought into the Parliament, the Commonwealth was saying, never on our watch will we move on this. And now we've got a scheme where they're completely being very helpful. The regulation has changed. Recently... I would question the very helpful, but...
helpful is always a relative term.
But also that at the most recent Council of Australian Governments, there was an agreement for, there to be work done on a national scheme. So if you're in Tasmania, for example, you're required to have a specialist, as opposed to in Victoria, it can be a GP or a specialist. So there are just different hurdles or barriers at different states. The approach we have taken has been, let's strip all of the regulation back and rely on the Commonwealth scheme, because otherwise we would have been putting an additional layer of regulation in. And we remain involved from both a clinical access and medical research perspective and production, which Ms. Pulford will be able to talk to you for that cohort of patients with severe intractable epilepsy and Dravet syndrome and conditions like that.
Thank you, and I think that's sort of an interesting segue. I mean, into access to medicinal cannabis. So, while the state has now removed any involvement in that access, with the exception of the children, the numbers are pretty small. In the government's own document, it expects that there's 83,000 potential patients across Australia. Now, given that, say, a quarter of those are in Victoria, that's a potential 20,000 patients, and so far about 100, maybe 150 Victorians have had access, have been able to get access to it. I'm wondering in what ways can the Victorian government assist with access? I've been informed by your department that it's a constitutional matter, but where there's a will, there's a way. Of increasing that access, and if this document, which is by 2021, we hope to be supplying 20,000 patients in Victoria, and at the moment 100 are getting it legally. Thousands and thousands are obviously accessing it.